Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, we've got another crazy video in store for us today, focused on Wuthering Waves version 3.0, and a part that many haven't really gone deep on yet, the story. Because we've got Sorosness, somebody who likes making some pretty in-depth commentary about a bunch of different gacha games, going into relatively less explored topics. And I think she's doing it over here with a Wuthering Waves 3.0 Act 1 review. And when it comes to Wu-Wa 3.0, when it comes to this story, I've had some pretty strong thoughts when it comes to certain characters' background, their characterizations, their motivations, and stuff like that. And I overall wasn't the biggest fan of it. That's going to be some context for me going on into it. I'm way more excited for part 2. I'm way more excited to see stuff like this. Like, these 2 frames alone, brother. This gets... Let's just say that seeing these 2 frames is more interesting to me than the entirety of Lynae's backstory. It's less than a second in the trailer, but that's essentially what I'm talking about. So without further ado, let's go ahead, let's get right on into it, and see whether or not Sorosness is spitting or not.
I want to love Lynae-Roi, but so far, Kuro are making all the same mistakes.
Okay, I hope she references them because they're probably going to be previous mistakes that she's talked about in prior videos.
Ever since its launch, I've seen many people praise Wuthering Waves for its focus on being a game first and a gacha second. Much of what they've built has avoided the anti-patterns and manipulative practices which plague other popular gachas, including many key aspects of this new region. In some places, Lynae-Roi has been brilliant at the game part of the equation. But when it comes to the story, while several chapters of Renacita lived up to the game's potential, many were very clearly gacha first, game second. But
sorry, I just need to address this one comment first. Oh yes, a character can only be interesting if they're connected to Rover. So if your take is that Lynae's backstory is interesting, you know that's a lie, right? Are you just gonna say that Lynae's backstory is interesting? Like, bro, she's a like, she's literally a like, her backstory is that she's a literal rando. She's a literal rando that could have been from anywhere. Lynae's backstory is that she could have been from anywhere, and it works. Would the story have changed if Lynae was from Huanglong? Does the story change if Lynae was from Renacita? Does the story change if Lynae is from Septimont? Does the story change if Lynae is from anywhere else? Not really, no, right? Not really. And if the idea is that you're saying it's one or the other, when clearly I've just painted the clear reason for why Lynae wasn't that great, it's because her backstory itself was not interesting. And so, no, people don't have to be related to Rover, but they need to have an interesting fucking story for people to want to hear it. I mean, we barely got anything. Then that gives the take of, then why was it in the story? If they did like a half-assed job of covering it anyways, why was it in the story? We got like 1 minute worth of CGs talking about it. It's kind of like they wanted their cake and they wanted to eat it too.
there were reasons to hope the new region would flip that on its head and finally leave those storytelling flaws behind. Instead, it left me incredibly disappointed.
Okay, that is a pretty strong take to make right off of the bat. That's a pretty strong take to make right off of the bat. And I think this is a bit of a interesting approach, especially given the ways that we could have organized the arguments. But I do feel like she's going to get into her actual points now. I'm just going to say 43 seconds is kind of a while to like talk about how bad something is before giving a reason. Because I don't think we've gotten a single reason yet.
Before we get to any downsides, let's acknowledge Wuba Story's greatest strength, their
Oh no, not the shit sandwich. Oh no, you can't just keep me, you can't just go into 45 seconds of, yeah, this thing is bad. And then before giving the reasons, it's like, oh, but here are the reasons why it's good. Oh, like, dude. It's like a reverse shit sandwich. It's like, I got the shit first, so I can't appreciate the taste of the bread. It's like a piece of bread covered by 2 pieces of shit. It's the basic moveset, bro. Yeah, no, that's what this feels like now.
presentation. Even back in version 1, when other parts of the game were at best unpolished, Kuro absolutely knocked this aspect out the park. The cutscenes are incredible, of course, and gain a ton of attention and well-deserved praise.
I guess it's like this. Let's just listen and nod, because I don't think there's going to be anything disagreeable here, but it's just like, well, my attention is already drawn towards the negatives.
Always beautiful and fluid, and they'd feel right at home at the climax of any top-tier animated film. And they've improved over time. The seamless mix of 2D and 3D animation to give the final battle of Rinascita that extra oomph was utterly stunning, for example. But for me, the cinematography during their in-engine scenes was always the thing that made it stand out. Careful use of camera angles, focus, and framing to emphasize the story being told is often neglected in games.
I think 2.8 is more of just like a technical spectacle of a quest versus like an actual story.
Especially when they can lean into those hype moments to distract from the flaws elsewhere, but Wuwa's is almost always immaculate. It's often hard to tell when a pre-rendered cutscene ends and where the in-engine dialogue begins, and it makes the whole experience feel like you're watching a polished movie.
They've also done a lot of letterboxing for like literally everything to simulate, right, like a wider aspect ratio on your monitor.
In Lynae-Roi,
so there's a lot of that going on
meets
too.
These expectations.
You can literally see it's happening right now.
Cinematography and cinematics are again fantastic. It helps that the city itself is gorgeous and the landscapes around it are lush, and they've done a surprisingly good job of populating the academy with people, with ambient dialogue which makes it feel like a boss.
Wait, why is she playing dude? Not that there's anything wrong with that, it just threw me off because this might be the first girl that I've seen that plays the dude Rover.
University. I just wish the story they were telling lived up to its presentation. As I explored in my Rinascita retrospective, Kuro proved that at their best, they can tell a fantastic story in isolation. Cartethias, Lupas, and Folovas in particular were amazing, and each showcased a completely different type of story too. But they have consistently struggled with two key things: introducing new characters and tying narratives together.
I think she's spitting here.
Their introductions tend to feel rushed. They want to skip any getting to know us phase and jump straight to the Rover being the center of the new character's world.
Okay. This is where we start getting into the critiques, right?
Their introductions tend to feel rushed. They want to skip any getting to know us phase and jump straight to the Rover being the center of the new character's world. They have at least come up with a lore explanation for this, which means it technically makes sense, but it makes any friendships feel unearned and hints at anything deeper even worse. This is where the gotcha first, game second feeling kicks in for me. It stops feeling like a natural, believable story, and instead I can almost hear them saying, "Look at this shiny new character, don't you want to spend money on them?"
This is how I'll address the take being presented over here. I think she's talking about the fact that like the relationships maybe don't feel that natural, right? Like it's not like Rover's meeting people naturally here, right? It's not like the Rover's like walking up and then being greeted in the city. However, right, because they got hit by a fucking motorcycle. That was the introduction, right? However, we also have other situations where, how did we meet Phoebe in 2.0? We literally met Phoebe because she's an acolyte greeting new people coming off the boat, right? And so we've already done regular story meetups in the past. Phoebe was the first Rinascita character that we met, guys. Phoebe was the first 2.0 unit that we met. And that was a natural introduction. So, oh wait, Brant. Right, Brant. Okay, you're right. Brant's was a bit abrupt, right? There was a lore reason for it. But when we meet Phoebe, it's supernatural. When we meet Phoebe, it's supernatural because she's just like there greeting people when they come into the city. And same thing for Zani, right? She's just there to give us a tour. In this situation, it feels like Lynae is like kind of taking on a lot of the other roles that other characters might have done, which I can see the argument over there, right? Because think about it this way. Lynae's role in 3.0 was performed by Brant, Rosia, Phoebe, and Zani in 2.0. Just from like a raw duty perspective, Lynae did all four of those, did the same thing that all four of those characters did. That's fair to say.
Spend money on them. I think it's pretty telling that the chapters where they let things take more time are also the ones where people feel a deeper connection to the characters involved, which build up over a longer period of time. Those are the patches where people cared the most.
I think I see the perspective. Imagine if this had happened instead. Lynae runs into us with her motorcycle. We're just like, what the fuck just happened? And then she says, well, I'm too busy. I'll see you later. And then she just leaves. Doesn't even apologize, she just leaves. And then we're just like out here, just like, the fuck, bro? What the fuck? And then we're like limping to the academy and shit. Like limping to the fucking academy by ourselves. Like... And then we're just like, fuck this character the entire time. You get what I mean, right? I can see the critiques over here.
Things take more time are also the ones where people feel a deeper connection to the characters involved, which
because she hits us, then she's like, oh, I need to get you medical attention. Let's go to the city now. Okay, now that we're in the city, I'm going to take you here and I'm going to take you there. It kind of would have been nice for her to just hit us and then we see her again like an hour later. And then, like, somebody else gives us the tour or something.
Build up over a longer period of time. Those are the patches where people cared the most, where the community felt alive with discussion, where the future of the game felt bright and vibrant. And when it comes to tying narratives together, I found it increasingly frustrating to see them create so many interesting setups which I really wanted them to explore, only
like Lynae being in Fraxidus.
for them to just drop them like a forgotten toy.
Yeah, she's just some rando from New Federation.
Kartithia and Frolova are the big exceptions, and again, for me at least, this aspect of how they were handled is a major reason they stand out so much as the highlights of the game so far.
Kartithia and Frolova. Yep, they're two characters with good pre-version, pre-banner stories that are done well, and then by the time their banner comes, their story reaches like a good climax.
As I said in my retrospective, even when all our friends showed up for the finale, it felt forced and unsatisfying because I don't want the characters to merely exist or even just participate. I want their stories to continue.
How do we feel about the stories of the Renacida cast? Seems pretty good. I feel like by the end of 2.7, I feel like Renacida's in a state of rebuild. And there's 100% going to be, like, another event where we go back and then see, like, the Montellis and the Facilius, like, working together and stuff to, like, reformat the cities, like, whatever. I could see the story continuing from there.
I had wished for more of that even early on in version 2, but through the final patches of Renacita, it was a constant disappointment. No Lupa in Septimon's second patch, no exploration of Augusta and Yuno's new friendship after Yuno was deleted from everyone's memories, no true reunion between Augusta and Galbrina.
I think no reunion between Augusta and Galbrina was a little bit interesting. I mean, maybe they still don't know each other. Maybe they still don't think that each other's the other person. I don't know, right? But yeah, this is... They spent too much time talking about the backstory of these two together for them to, I guess, not have, like, a team-up move. If anything, they should have had, like, a team-up move between, like, the two of them.
This tendency was encapsulated by those scenes during the finale where all these characters had come to help and they just stood in a half circle.
The solution is a filler patch? Ironically enough, that's actually the case. The solution would have just been to have, like, a filler patch in 2.8 where, like, where there's, like, Renacida just has, like, a celebration. That would have been, like, the solution, but, we don't like filler patches around here.
Every last one of them facing Rover, the center of attention. But right at the end, despite how rushed our friendship with Chisa felt, I did feel a spark of hope for Lynae-Roi on both these points.
Chisa was a filler patch, though. Let's just say that if I had a choice between a Renacida filler patch and Chisa in Honami City, I'd choose the Renacida filler patch.
First, even though it seemed a little odd that our godlike millennia-old protagonist would be going back to school, it's hard to think of a better setting to help Kuro finally get the hang of group interactions and maybe some more gradual growing friendships. Education shoves students into a classroom together and forces them to interact, not only with one another, but also with teachers and other staff.
I get, this is my take. I don't think anyone I personally did not expect us to actually go to school in Star Torch Academy. My take is I didn't actually ever expect us to go to school. That was never the expectation for me. But maybe there were some people who thought we were gonna have like cutscenes in like the classroom and stuff. Where I'm gonna be real here, I'd probably get bored unless like the discussion was about like nuclear cannons or something.
So many of the most popular tropes in that setting involve relationships which change over time. Surely, Kuro would dive into some of those. And second, Chisa felt perfectly placed to kickstart a more connected narrative. She was already a student from Lynae-Roi, but much would have changed during her 20-year absence.
That would have basically forced Chisa to be like the main character. And I'm going to be honest, she's kind of boring. Can we just talk about this for a second? Chisa is kind of a boring fucking character. She is a plot dead end. Her story is actually over. How do you know that? Her parents are alive, and she went back home and reunited with them and is working through everything. That's basically, she got the happy ending already.
Perfect excuse to have Rover and Chisa stick together and team up with 1 or 2 new characters as they explore their new surroundings, compare to things which were different back then, and start.
Her story is done. You wanna know why I don't see much of a concern with her story being done as early as it started? Because her story wasn't that good. So it's like her being written out of the story when she was like written in there with like a fucking, I don't know, Parkinson's, right? Like, what's the, like, who cares if she got written out of the story if she was written in there, like, with, like, a fucking, with a pen that had no ink in it? It's not like much was lost.
To get those friendships growing. And not to mention the emotional payoff to her story, her reunion with her parents. Sadly, it did not take long for that hope to fade. The early part of the quest felt promising.
That's what I mean. Her hook and, like, her hook and story appeal was like that. It's just like that. And I guess the thing for me is that she was never a big part of the story in the first place. Literally, Honami City's only purpose is to serve as like a... Honami City, guys, is your connecting flight to Lynae-Roi. It is a connecting flight to Lynae-Roi. That's all it is. You're there just as like a brief stop to go to the next place. Yeah, it's a layover. That's literally it. That is literally its lore purpose, a layover. And so, like, that's literally that's the purpose of it in the plot. And so, like, the character who's based around the layover city, their story involvement's also, like, not that made... I mean, I'm just gonna be real, it kind of makes sense, right?
The presentation was fantastic, of course, and I was glad to see Lynae given hints of depth straight away. She presents herself as a happy-go-lucky and friendly face, but that's clearly a facade, and there was something sus going on. The introductions of both Mornay and Luke were intriguing too. They both clearly knew the Rover in the past, adding subtext to their interactions, which makes me want to know more about them, their history, and Rover's past interactions in Lynae-Roi.
Spitting here. And this is the big thing. The first part of this quest, I loved it. I loved the first couple parts of this quest, like the first maybe 2 hours. But then after I got the Lynae reveal, I was just like, oh man, I'm kind of not as engaged anymore.
Didn't actually make it to our first class in the first entire act, however, so even though the academy feels vibrant and full of life, this part of the story was entirely focused on Lynae outside of those brief introductions. Which, unfortunately, means that Chisa was completely sidelined, and the way they handled her makes me doubt they'll make the most of her in the upcoming quests. It bears repeating that I was one of those who felt her story in 2.8 was poorly executed and her relationship with the Rover rushed, and while I hoped she'd get us familiar with the academy just because it would have been more coherent storytelling, I don't feel all that much towards her personally.
Guys, it could also just be because of Japan. Hey, guys, this could also be the thing. Hey, it's because Chisa's Japanese, like, literally.
Said, the way her reunion with her parents was brushed aside in a single sentence.
Guys, like, literally, we could also just wipe it all away with, like, political tension and she's Japanese.
Sentence confirmed that Kuro...
And the thing is, we'll never know. We'll never know.
Really don't give a shit about their characters unless they're selling them to us right at that moment. This has been a constant issue in the past, but this was by far the most jarring case. It was the definition of gotcha first, game second, and it shatters the illusion of the story.
Hey, it could have been legal first, lawsuit second.
If Kuro don't care about their own characters, why should we? It's possible that
Kuro does care about their characters. You wanna know which characters they care about, though? Yeah, they care about her. Yeah, no, they care about her. They care about her, and because they care about her, every player cares about her, too. It's just some characters... Guys, all units in Wu-Wa were not made equal.
she'll return and be more present once we actually start going to classes, but at this point I would be unsurprised if she's taking a different course or something like that and we never see her outside of some occasional cameos. Hell, I expect Lynae to be in a different class as well. And while I found Lynae intriguing at first...
Guys, I don't even think Rover's a student. Guys, I think Rover is faculty. That's the crazy part, is that we were never even confirmed to, like, be a student. We could literally just be faculty.
Even though this entire quest focused entirely on her, her character ended up kinda falling apart for me. Again, the way they presented it was really good. The pacing of the story was engaging, they did a solid job of slowly revealing her backstory and her current situation, and it all built up to an exciting finale. Her backstory is the key to understand why she felt off to me.
Okay, let's hear this. Let's hear this. I have issues with her backstory as well.
Is from the New Federation, which is presented in her flashbacks as a harsh and cutthroat city where only the ruthless...
Oh, okay. There's one last thing that I need to say. Some people, right, are... Let me just make sure that I have the exact right thing that I want to show. Because a lot of people, right, a lot of people seem to be unaware of some prior drip marketing materials that have come out for Wuthering Waves. And while there is potential that Kuro's made a typo, I do need to show y'all something. So... why is it that when I said Rover might be faculty, people said, oh no, they're... So why does this say faculty at Rebel College? Why does that say faculty at Rebel College? Why does that say faculty? What does faculty mean? Yeah, get fucking destroyed, losers. Yeah, don't at me ever again.
Lynae is from the New Federation, which is presented in her flashbacks as a harsh and cutthroat city where only the ruthless survive, especially in the mercenary subculture.
Holy aura loss? What do you mean aura loss? That was a fucking aura gain. This entire chat just got clapped, bro. The entire chat was all like, oh no, he's wrong. Oh, we need to go correct his misinformation. We need to go correct his misinformation. But the real misinformation is that I can see, because clearly I'm actually blind. Yeah, the real aura loss is on you guys, because you can't read. Imagine. That's the biggest aura loss ever, right? Imagine people found out you couldn't read.
She grew up within. She found a murdered body in an alleyway and...
That's actually insane aura loss, though, right? Like, imagine how much respect would you lose for somebody if you found out they actually couldn't read? Like, dude, it would be like gone. It would disappear. It would immediately all evaporate.
Realized the dead girl's invitation letter to the academy could be her ticket to a better life. But it turned out that the original Lynae had been a Fractidus spy tasked to infiltrate the academy.
Yep.
Since her arrival, she's had to string...
When you hear it, in, like, actuality, isn't it just the most, like, convoluted shit ever? Yeah, I'm pretending to be a Fractidus who's pretending to be somebody at Star Torch...
the Fractidus along while secretly working against them and hoping to find her way to freedom. This is an awesome backstory which sets up a kick-ass character, but the more time we spent with Lynae, the more it felt like they failed to commit to this. Think about it. What is Lynae's true personality? Her story works great if she genuinely is a ruthless mercenary and her soft and friendly side is mostly a persona. This feels like the only way her history makes sense. Any softness would have been beaten out of her by her harsh, traumatic childhood. But instead, the more time we spend with her, the more it felt like they were trying to present her innocent persona as her true self. After all, if she was truly a competent and ruthless merc, why would she be afraid of being sent back to the new Fed? If she's so resourceful, would she not be able to just go start over someplace completely new?
And that's why it was all I have so many issues with. Oh, I just love school life so much, but I'm never gonna go to any of my classes. I'm barely gonna be on the edge of failure for all of my, like, but I really want to stay here because it's so, like, free and this is where I was supposed to be. It's like the characters just, I cannot take this unit seriously.
Her fear does not fit her story, yet it...
And that's what I mean.
was presented as her central motivation. If I'm being charitable here, perhaps what they were trying to do was say this is a side of her.
But she gets good grades. That's why there was a scene in the quest where a professor said she was about to get kicked out for not attending classes.
Which she's finally discovering now that she's in a safer environment. But while that could be a fantastic arc for a character to experience, this single quest was far too small a time in which to tell it.
And that's the thing, right? If you got to see Lynae getting, right, used to school life, and you got to see her going and transforming from the ruthless merc into the softer person that she is now, and you got to see a part of that process, sure. But instead, it's literally just like, oh, she came here and then suddenly she's now Neon. Like, before she came to Star Torch Academy, she was like the dark, short-haired brunette dark, short-haired brunette, very edgy, and the second she gets here, she's now neon. Like, bro, there's just really not, like, a lot of from to over there. And so having a from that's so polarizing compared to the two.
Instead, for me, it came across as if they were trying to combine two characters, one a ruthless killer, the other an innocent and empathetic damsel forced to do a bit of murder to survive in this harsh world, and it just left her feeling incoherent instead. And when it comes to the consequences,
I think she's absolutely cooking when it comes to the problems with this unit, because she's hard to, like, kind of take seriously. She's kind of hard to take seriously because you think about her motivations and you think about the stuff that she's doing, and it's kind of just like, why did she have all of these struggles before? And, like, they just don't really make sense.
Of the story, once again, they completely wiped away such interesting sources of ongoing conflict. The tension caused by Lynae's life as a double agent could have built up over time and been a fantastic subtext to all her.
Like, think about it this way. Imagine if she had just been working with Fraxidus until the actual climax of the story, and then when the Void Worm attacks, that's when she decides to change her mind. Bro, and then we found out we were getting fooled the entire time. Bro, it's like, it's hard to put. No, it's not. You would have just had her be fooling the Rover the entire time, right? Actually working with Fraxidus, and then at some point, her and Rover have some type of interaction that gets her to change her mind, and then actually go fight the Void Worm. That would have been a buildup that, like, shows, like, an actual, like, oh, she's really, like, you see that shift in her happen live in the story. Instead, it's just, she's just been like this for, like, she doesn't really change at all during the quest.
Her interactions with other characters in the future. It would have given her an interesting story which lasted beyond this initial act, which could have tied together with future characters in ways which make the whole thing come alive. Instead, it gets resolved in no time at all as a final payoff after the climax of the story.
Some people are saying that Luke was related to the dead Lynae, and that Luke is the one that betrayed Fraxidus, and that Lynae is impersonating the person that was sent to spy on Luke. If that's how it turns out to be, maybe this story link is saved. But if not, we might be a little bit cooked. But I'm thinking, potentially, right, that blonde Lynae that was, like, dead, that got looted for this Star Torch thing, maybe that was Luke's actual sister.
Lynae's arc now feels mostly done, and the only important thread left is...
Because remember, Luke's splash art, drip marketing, says he has a dark and bloody past.
The existence of her hidden Fraxidus contact. And, of course, there's no reason we can't hunt them down without her. I don't understand how anyone who actually likes Lynae as a character could be satisfied with this.
Let me hear that again.
And the only important thread left is the existence of her hidden Fraxidus contact. And, of course, there's no reason we can't hunt them down without her. I don't understand how anyone who actually likes Lynae as a character could be satisfied with this. Wouldn't you want her story to continue? This is where the argument of those who defend gacha-first storytelling falls flat. Even for people who do enjoy gathering their wives, in the long run, this approach will leave them feeling empty.
Wait, let me see this. Somebody wrote out an entire thing. So yeah, I was a merc in New Fed, and I stumbled across this dead girl in an alleyway who happened to have an acceptance letter to Hogwarts. And oh yeah, she was also secretly a Fraxidus member who was pretending to go to Hogwarts. So I decided to pretend to be her and use her letter to go to Hogwarts because I secretly hated being a mercenary, even though that's what I've been my entire life. And I love school, but I also refuse to actually go to any of my classes, risking getting expelled. This is all factual, by the way. This is literally factual. These are facts. This is the character. She really mentioned that she loves school. Do you know how many times she says she loves school? Like 10 fucking times in the story, she mentions how much she loves Star Torch Academy. I'm not even joking. But yeah, that's all factual.
Their wives. In the long run, this approach will leave them feeling empty. And it wasn't just the way they handled Lynae's arc which felt off to me. Two of their bad habits in previous regions were their tendency to speedrun introductions and to rely on hype moments to carry their stories. Last year, the character introductions were often rushed, but the world building was given a little more space to breathe. Rinasci's first act did a good job of building up the world, introducing several groups of characters, and setting up various factions and conflicts between them, which made
I talked about this at the start.
the world feel rich and alive. Septimond was done well too. We got a feel.
I will say, I'm not really sure. I don't agree with her take about the character introductions being rushed because of the stuff I said before. I think in 2.0, we meet people at a very slow pace. Like, that in 2.0, I don't think it's rushed at all.
For their culture straight away, but discovered greater depths throughout the story. Lynae-Roi's first act instead focused way too much on Lynae, and as a result, we got just surface level impressions about the academy and the other people there. We've met.
It wouldn't have been too much of an issue to focus on Lynae if she wasn't just such a bad character. And that's the truth of the matter. 3.0 and the lack of, it's just, if Lynae was a better character, it would be a better story. Because the problem is that it focused too much on Lynae. Why is that bad? Because Lynae is not a good character. Guys, was 2.2 bad because we focused too much on Cartithia? No, because Cartithia is a good character. Was 2.5 bad because we focused too much on Frolova? No, because Frolova's a good character. And believe me when I say this, after we seen this shit over here, bro, after we saw this, do you think 3.0 second half, when it focuses entirely on Mornier, do you think it's gonna be bad? No, because Mornier is a good fucking character. And so, the issue with the story, guys, isn't because it focuses too much on a character. It's when it focuses too much on a character and the character's not good. It's that simple, guys. Because we literally have literal track record of other versions where the story is entirely focused on one unit and it's good. So no, the story being focused on one unit does not make a story bad. That's a fact.
Just surface level impressions about the academy and the other people there. We've met a couple of teachers and the academy doctor and learned some history about its founding, but far too little about their work in the present day, their culture, their internal conflicts and challenges.
And guess where we're gonna find out all of that shit? Here. We're gonna find out all of that in the Mornier story quest in part 2. But for some fucking reason, all we got was... Sorry, let me go find that long-ass message again. Guys, this is what we got instead of learning anything about Star Torch Academy. You got this instead of learning anything about Star Torch Academy. Do you see why it's... Do we know anything about the Exostrider? Do we know anything about, like, what's going on in Lynae-Roi, kind of, like, at all? No, we got to go find out about her and, like, this new Fed shit. We don't know shit. Exactly, because we spent all of our time on this. Because all of our time was spent on this shit nobody has any reason to care about. Because, guys, we just got introduced to a whole new region, a whole new environment, a whole new city. And we spend all of our time focusing on the new Federation? We're in Lynae-Roi. Why are we focusing on the new Fed? They have literally native... Dude, that's true. Wait, you're right. There literally are natives, Lynae-Roi natives, that start attacking you in the overworld. We didn't even get introduced to them yet because we're spending all of our time hearing about Lynae's backstory. You realize that, right? There's literally a fucking tribe of people that just, like, post up and they will try to fucking mug you up here, bro. Look at this. I'm gonna go spawn at the forgery challenge. I'm gonna get mugged. Bro, look. Who the fuck are these guys?
Oh, the big fishes come our way.
Who the fuck are these guys?
Ooh, the pitch is lowered.
We focused on Lynae and their backstory over finding out anything about the region. We don't know shit about the Roya tribe. We don't know shit about these guys. We don't know shit about anywhere outside of Star Torch Academy, if we're frankly being honest. But hey, we know a fuck ton about Lynae, though. Great.
The place feels alive because they designed and built it well, but the story has not revealed any depths yet. We can hope this is because they're taking it slow, with more depth and conflict to be revealed in future chapters as we start to take part in the Academy's daily life. But that's not how it came across to me. It felt...
I agree with this completely. Because, again, guys, do you feel like you know anything more about Lynae-Roi? All I know is that their artificial sun project had some issues and we kind of solved them. But I don't know anything else about the Academy.
Felt like they were just so focused on pushing Lynae into the spotlight that they forgot to set up the rest of the stage. And that desire to plant the
Bruh, y'all are acting like it's not gonna get covered? Did I ever say that? Or am I focusing on the fact that we don't know the information yet, and instead of learning that info, we got fed a bunch of other extraneous, unnecessary info instead? This is never gonna happen, but think about this situation hypothetically, Alpha Scythe. Imagine that you get married. This is why I said it's not gonna happen. And on your honeymoon, you and your wife are about to create a child. But then she says, let me actually tell you about my backstory when I was a new Federation mercenary. And that's what you do for 2 hours instead. And then you go complain to your friend that you thought you were about to smash and you instead got a 2-hour exposition. And then your friend tells you, bruh, you acting like it ain't gonna happen eventually. Bruh, you act like it's not gonna happen eventually. Is that acceptable answer? On your honeymoon, you thought you were about to go, but instead you didn't. You have a right to be disappointed after that. Most people would say that. You have a right to be upset that unexpected situation occurred. Anyways, that's my analogy for that situation.
focus entirely on the banner character led to the finale falling flat to me, despite its awesome cinematic. Every step along the way I was wondering, why was it only Rover and Lynae who fought the worm? Sure, the Academy's defenses had gone down, and they were scrambling to get everyone vulnerable back to safety, but it could have been a perfect moment to showcase the Academy's strength. This is a high-tech school filled with the most talented resonators from across the world, all working together to build the technology of the future. It would have been just as hype to see Rover and Lynae distracting the Void Worm at first, holding it off until the Academy's mechs were able to get over there and blast it into pieces.
I think this Void Worm fight was just like the worst thing in the game. I'm just gonna be honest with you. I consider this to be literally the worst thing in the game.
Instead, the gacha came first, and it all had to hinge on Lynae to save the day.
That's just my take.
Worse,
I try to forget about this
felt
fight.
Rushed and unnecessary in the first place. Hype moments feel earned when the story takes the time to build up towards them. Instead, this felt oddly hollow. A new region's introduction shouldn't.
It felt hollow because nobody likes Lynae. You want to know what would have been fine? I wouldn't have cared at all if Cartithia fuck this thing up. Nah, I wouldn't have cared at all if Augusta fucked this thing up. I wouldn't care at all if Yuno fucked this thing up. I wouldn't care at all if Carlotta and Cantarella fucked this thing up. I have a problem with Lynae fucking this thing up because, like, is she, like, even, like, that strong? Like, I find it actually unbelievable that she was able to take care of it. Like, she doesn't even feel like a strong character. She literally doesn't. She feels like in power scaling in this game, she's on the lower end.
Need a dramatic, hype-filled climax. Meeting new characters and exploring a new world would have been more than interesting enough to carry a couple of main story quests on their own, and build towards much more satisfying story peaks in later patches. If they do feel the need to do this in every patch, the climax of the opening of a new region should at least set up future conflicts, but here, it resolved almost everything they'd focused on so far.
So, this is the issue with this take from Sourceness. I've been agreeing with a lot about what she said, but I can't necessarily agree with this whole, like, the story is, like, not setting itself up for anything else. That's because there's 2 stories in this patch. Right? There's a second half launching later that should probably make it so that you don't view these individual pieces as individual. You're actually supposed to combine them. But the fact of the matter is that the story was intentionally split by Kuro. And I think the unfortunate part is that I feel like the second half story is really good. Like, so much better than the first half. It's going to be unreal. But we had to wait 3 weeks for the second half. And I think that's what the issue is. Kuro probably actually viewed part 1 and 2 together, and then viewed it as, oh, this is a great story. But then when you split it up into part 1 and part 2, part 1's just really lacking in comparison. That's what I feel like. Because I don't really see how... There's a reason why this story feels like it explored so little of the world, and it doesn't seem like there's much to go beyond this. Because the issue itself was not that crazy. Guys, Void Worm attacks are a regular occurrence in this place. Like, a Void Worm attacks happened at the start of the story, when we get chased by one with Lynae. And so the climax of this story is literally the same Void Worm attack that we had at the very start. It's like not even like big scope. It's literally nothing. One worm attacked us at the start, and then one worm attacks us at the end. That's like all it is. It's Void Worm attacks.
I suspect their other motivation for all of that was to completely change the dynamic we can expect when Rover joins his classes. Before, Rover would have been just another student, forced to build up normal relationships with the others in their classes. They might have been a novelty if they were introduced into a class which had already started studying, but they would not have stood out all that much.
I don't think anyone wanted it. I don't think most people want an actual school arc. They'd get fucking bored.
Now, Rover is going to start as a celebrity, the new student who saved the entire academy almost single-handedly before they even took their first class.
That's because they're not a student. Maybe I'm the only person that read this. I think I'm the only person in the Wuthering Waves community that actually opened up this image and actually read it. I'm just saying, because that's faculty. You guys know? Yeah, faculty. Dearie me. Okay. Do we really got to do this, guys? I don't want to have to do this, but if I'm going to have to do it, we're going to have to do it then, boys. Okay. Alrighty. Hey. Don't regret this after you get the news that you can't read 2 times in a row. Okay? Are you guys ready? Look what it says under Lynae's. Student. Did you see the word student on Rover? Do you see student here? Do you see student? It also doesn't say he's not a student. Guys. It's clear that the role that Rover's going to play is, like, neither a student nor a professor. And I guess the real actual take over here is that if you expected, with their identity showing up as this, for them to, like, sit down in classes and then, like, be all slice of life and stuff and, like, teacher, I know the answer. No, mother. No, if you, like... Bro, there's literally a cinematic where they leave the academy, implying that they were, if there's somebody that just leaves the academy like that, they're not going to be just a student. Like, clearly in their past, they weren't a student. They were probably a professor in their past. So they're not going to have, they're going to have like a split role. Like, the main take is that if you expected Rover to, like, just be this, like, sit-down student, like, going to every class, and the story was going to involve, like, class, like, scenes with, like, us in class, like, look, guys, maybe it'll happen, who knows? I don't see it because of all of the things that I pointed out.
Average students are going to be in awe, teachers will be intimidated and impressed, Rover will wow them with understated genius, and everyone will clap. That will undoubtedly appeal to many people. To the rest of us, it's yet more wasted potential. And finally, it's worth quickly covering the other side of the gotcha first game section.
Kinda why Luke laughed when he called Rover a freshman? Guys, if it's not obvious. Rover was a teacher when Mornier and Luke were students. And so Rover taught Mornier and Luke at Star Torch Academy. That's why they know him or her. That is the background. It's going to get revealed later. So Rover was a teacher back in the day, taught Luke, taught Mornier. That's why they have, like, the bond and stuff like that. And then obviously, right, Rover returns, and then now the positions are, like, juxtaposed because now Rover's a student, but you know they're not going to do any actual fucking learning while they're there.
Second argument, the gameplay. When it comes to exploration, thankfully, Wuwa have continued to make the mechanics available to all. The bike is a little janky at times, with its tendency to get stuck on small objects and its cumbersome turning curve, but cruising through the gorgeous landscapes is a joy, and I've actually loved the little exploration I've had the time to do so far. Having seen Amia's gameplay, I really hope this isn't the start of them locking certain exploration mechanics behind new characters.
If you've actually taken a look at Lynae-Roi, you would recognize that flying is functionally useless there. I will be real with you, flying is actually functionally useless in Lynae-Roi. There's very few spots where I think it can be used, and in the spots where you would need it, you can just double jump on your bike to go up in the air. So, yeah,
It would make sense for us to gain access to the mechs once we're qualified to use them, which would then mean this is another more freeing mechanic available for free. If, however, it's exclusive to her, that's the first step down the wrong path in my opinion. When it comes to combat, on the other hand, I'd say Wuwa is just
And I guess the other point is that we have Flight in 2.0.
about balance between gacha and game. They've done a good job of avoiding power creep so far, but it does seem to have started to tick upwards, and they're beginning to dial up the shield mechanics.
Don't worry. They just released Chisa, who's the worst character in the game. You might have been keeping up with Chisa's story, but how about you take a look at Chisa's meta relevance for a second there before we start talking about power creep or recent releases. Okay, Bucko? How about that? You're a little bit outside of your wheelhouse over here. Okay, to be talking about power creep and recent releases off the back of fucking Chisa, who is literally, I have never seen a worse character to pull in my life before. Like, literally, I think you could look at every gacha release ever, and Chisa, like, every gacha unit release in the past 5 years, and Chisa's the worst pick out of all of them. Genuinely, I think Chisa's the worst out of all of them. Because, guys, Chisa's only team is with Cartithia Chacona, and Chisa's worse than Arrow Rover unless she has her weapon. So it's like, if you pulled only Chisa, she's the worst unit in the game. You need to pull her with her weapon to make her 5% better than Arrow Rover. So, like, Chisa by herself is literally the worst. Because you have to pull her with her weapon for her to be better than any other unit in the game.
They pour a lot of time and effort into making new characters flashy and exciting and fun to play, but the end games are still reliant on DPS checks where the real enemy is the timer.
And Chisa.
I still wish they'd bring back Virtual Crisis, since that's the most fun I've had in any difficult content in any gacha game, and really it all depends on the direction they take in the future. Even a little movement in the wrong direction could stray too far from the approach which granted them so much praise. I don't expect every patch to be a narrative masterpiece, but I would expect the first chapter in a new region to function as an introduction instead of an advertisement. Last year, Kuro seemed excited to introduce us all to Rinasita. They took their time to showcase all that they'd created. They introduced characters like Brand, Phoebe, and Zani, and even Cartithia in its debut patch long before their first release.
I don't think there's anyone saying that 3.0's intro is better than 2.0's. If there's a single person out there saying that, please let me know, because I'd like to see what a retarded person looks like. There's no way. Like, 2.0 is so much better from, like, an introductory new region perspective.
Set up factions and conflict and mysteries for us to uncover.
And I've had the same take this entire time, guys. I've had the same take since the second I played 3.0. I hate Lynae. And Lynae is what brought down 3.0's Act 1 immensely for me.
In Lynae-Roi's first act, all that was overshadowed by Lynae. The only real difference this entire story made is that Rover is, once again, the hero of all things, the center of the world. I'm not against a story where that's the end result, but when it's this unearned, it just ends up feeling hollow. Guess we just have to hope that the second act will be a little different.
Oh, it will be. Don't worry. Second act is going to take this one and blow it out of the fucking water. And this is going to be my take that I'll make right now. Quote me on this. People will 1000% agree with the takes made here, the takes made in Sorosness's video, and the takes that I made in the past. After Act 2 comes out and people see what an actual good backstory looks like when it's integrated into the main story. Because right now, Mornier is going to blow Lynae out of the water when it comes to story quality. It's not even going to be fucking close. And it's just, I think everyone can tell that's what's going to happen. And this showcase alone, the amount of work put into it, should tell you that I'm right. We'll look forward to that when it comes. Let me know what you all thought about our react. Peace out.